little bit earlier on, is the absolute most important thing Margin Master does is build a pricing strategy. So those of you that have to be Margin Master, how many of you have a strategy in place? That's pretty good. So half with a half, so a quarter. If you don't have a pricing strategy in place, the whole reason I want you using Margin Master is to build a pricing strategy. And so let's talk about what a pricing strategy is. I think this is the cornerstone of why we use Margin Master. If I had a legal pad of paper, and I'm walking through the store with you, and we're standing in an aisle, and I say, how is it that we price the stuff in this aisle? You'd say to me, well, Brad, we price all this stuff in this aisle at Ace Retail. I'd say, great, we price all this stuff at Ace Retail. And we go to the next aisle. How do we price this stuff? So, well, this stuff's also at Ace Retail. So, okay. We continue to do that from every aisle, from every section of the store, and we identify all those places that you've got some type of decision that's been made about how we're going to price the goods. Hopefully they're not all the same, but maybe they are. Maybe you start before we start walking out, you say, Brad, I don't know anything about pricing. All I want to do is be at Ace Retail. That's a pricing strategy. And it's a pricing strategy that's immensely simple, but almost impossible to implement outside of Margin Master. And the reason I say it's impossible to implement is because everybody that says that they're doing that today, when we look at their numbers in Margin Master, they're not doing it. So I want to be 100% at Ace Retail, except for on these 4,000 items, because I want to be someplace else. We need to know why those 4,000 items are something different. And in Margin Master, we either are going to identify, well, I really want to be at Ace Retail on those, and they're just priced wrong, or there's a legitimate reason that I'm selling this stuff. It's ice melt to me. My ice melt doesn't go to Ace Retail. I made a decision, but as I make that decision for me, and I can't think what the class price melt is, $7.75. For me, merchandise class $7.75 with Ace Retail less 39%, I write it on my legal pad. And I don't want it to be any more complicated to you than the thought of writing on a legal pad. Because when we start talking about the computer, it's complicated and people get confused. So if I can get everybody in the room to think in terms of building a strategy that they could write on a piece of paper, now it's our job to show you how to put that in the software. Okay, so in Margin Master, it works real simple. It's not meant to be complicated, but it can be confusing. If I want to take all the things in Department 10, these 253 items to Ace Retail, I simply click the camera in the bottom corner. Again, those of you that have seen this, call it Department 10 to Ace Retail. Clever name for the world. So I've just told the program in a few clicks that from this point forward, everything in Department 10 is going to be at Ace Retail. That's simple enough and easy enough to conceptualize. It'd be hard to remember how to do that. With that done, though, Margin Master has added it to the Pricing Strategy Manager, which is a separate screen. You can see that rule that I just added right here. And the rule tells me very clearly that for all the SKUs in Department 10, we're setting them to Ace Retail. This isn't mystery science theater. This is pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, so it's done the same thing that we would have done on the legal pad. But the coolest part about what happens when you build a strategy is, let's say you're down to 15, 20 rules. And those rules pretty clearly define what you want to do with your pricing. Every time I want to evaluate my pricing in Margin Master, I simply tell the tool, look, apply my rules. Enforce the logic that I told you to have. Make sure it's happening. And every time that the program does it, if you do it 1,000 times in a day, it doesn't matter, it's going to come to the same answer. Because there's only one result for each of those rules. So, going forward on a weekly basis, the maintenance in Margin Master isn't somebody trying to remember what Uncle Willie did back in the automotive department. We know that the rule in the automotive department is level 2. Great. Except for I didn't say we didn't want to do that on the automotive wire. We want that to be Ace Retail. All the exceptions are built in. If everybody had that list of rules and we can enforce it, the process then of managing price changes, which we all have to do, becomes a very manageable and measurable process. So going back to the concept of time, where we're all time starved, we don't have enough things going on, how many people know how many changes you do in a week? How many price changes you do in a week? Anybody measure that? Margin Master, you should know that. You're monitoring that. And the reason that it's important to know is if you know you've got 1,000 changes to do this week, maybe we know that we can't get 1,000 done this week, or we need to have extra help come in, or if I'm asking the overflow cashier to take care of doing the meat department changes, maybe it's not realistic that she's going to get them all done. I can measure whether I'm getting them done effectively versus just, we have a bunch of changes to do, I really don't know what they are. Some of those are 3 months old, and I see some smiles because you know that happens. They're just there. And In fact, some of those things changed since they changed. So I changed them today, then they changed again. We don't know what we're changing. What in the world is that? With Margin Master, one time a week, sometimes you can tell me, hey, it's Christmas week, or it's a busy summer week, it's 4th of July week. Maybe we just make the conscious decision, you know what, I'm not doing price changes this week. Those 400 items that need to change this week, we're not doing it. And I know exactly what that's going to cost me to the bottom line. I'm not doing it. We'll do it next week. Or maybe we'll do them Saturday instead. But we have complete control over when we do them, why we do them, how many we have left. And here's the best part. If we forget to do them, I go on vacation and don't tell somebody we want to do price changes, or whatever it is, Margin Master doesn't forget. The rules are the rules. Anybody can apply the rules. And if the rules are put into a play and run across all the SKUs, we always come up with the same results. So if you're the owner, you're the store manager, and you're the one that's been doing all the work to get all the price changes done, the part that's important for you to do is the actual logic of what are the rules. Nobody else can decide how is it that we want to have our paintbrushes priced. That's an important decision. And you're not going to give that decision-making capability to a cashier. But guess what? The cashier or somebody in the office or anybody doesn't have to understand pricing at all can execute the steps in Margin Master to apply the rules and give me what my price changes are for the week. Therefore, when I'm going to golf league, I know that everything gets done. Okay? So the reason that we do Margin Master, on top of trying to be accurate, on top of trying to take advantage of variable pricing, is because we can simplify this whole process. And we can take the process that now everybody dreads, everybody hates, perpetual price changes, we just got thousands after thousands, and it becomes some manageable number. And that's a foreign concept to a lot of us. The idea of actually being able to start a process and end a process is cool. If I had 1,000 changes to do in our store, I know that that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours for 4 people out there putting tags up, giving them each 3 or 4 sheets with 40 tags on it, and then get them done if we want to get customers. Or we didn't get any trucks delivered that week. Or if, if we were just, all we did was we were just a price change right, we do it real quick. It's important to know, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to allocate time and resources to get these changes done? And more importantly, I want to make sure they're done. At least in the state of Michigan, it's required by law that if my scanner law, that if my price is wrong on the shelf from the front register, the customer collects a bounty 10 times the difference up to $5. And don't think they don't try and find those items. So if that is priced wrong, they tell you about it and they want their money. It's kind of a catch-22. I'm not sure I'm crazy about it, but it's fair. We're trying to be right. Go ahead. Sure. So the question is that the number one question I always get, so it's good. We wouldn't have got out here today if we didn't. So can you just give me the top 2 or 3 things that we're going to want to do? And because most of the stores are going to be different, but yet we're all kind of the same. So what are those first 2 or 3 steps? Am I saying that right? So here's the way strategy works. Every strategy starts with a top level rule. One rule that if you could only choose one price for every item in the store, you had no variability at all, what would that rule be? So for most stores, I would tell you today, completely informal, just off the top of my head, I'd say that's level 1 price. Okay, so I'm going to be level 1. In fact, in my stores, our number 1 rule says everything goes to level 1. Okay, so first step for a new user is, what is that one step going to be? And you might say it's going to be Ace Retail. Fair enough. That's your one rule, and we now have one rule that says everything is going to Ace Retail. Then the next part of what you're going to do is, okay, now if you have any areas in your store that in your market are something unique, something different you do. You've got the new craftsman line, you sell different Benjamin Moore paint. What do? What makes your store unique from some other store? Maybe you've got 16 big box stores all within a mile, so you've got to do something different. What are those conditions? And you say to me, well, I forgot to tell you, we sell steel power equipment. Oh, you do? Great. What does that mean to you? Well, we got to make sure our steel power equipment is all priced in line with their MSRPs. Okay. What about their parts and stuff that you sell behind the counter? Oh, well, we just sell those out of the catalog. I said, well, why do you do that? Because it's all we know. Well, what if you could sell those around at retail? Maybe we want to start looking at that. Anybody selling steel parts, by the way, at the catalog suggested retail?
I
I hope.
Yeah. That's the perfect thing you can take around
our store, we probably have 10,000 steel parts that are behind the counter that, you know, if somebody needs it, they need a sprocket for their saw, we go back, and the old system was we get the part, that we've got 4 of back there, they don't have any, we look it up in the book, and their price is geniusly $17.91. Well, why in the world would I sell for that? It's immediately $24.99. You know, I mean, it needs to bump. We're the only place, we're the authorized dealer. Why am I selling to some goofy retailer that makes me 27% margin? If you're not doing that, pay attention. And that's not just, that's a Carhartt. So you know, that might be one of your comments. Oh, over a Carhartt deal. Great. How do you price your Carhartt? Well, we follow their suggested retail pricing on all the coats and hats and all that stuff. But on the jeans, we do this. Okay. Those are all parts of your strategy. The easy, low-hanging fruit is the strategy on the hardware stuff. The non-ACE items, the things you're getting from someplace else, are maybe a little bit more advanced topic, but they're no less important in the strategy, and they all have to be addressed. So rule 2 is driven by you. Which thing is it that you see as an exception? And then if you couldn't come up with a third rule, and I tell you you'll come up with a half a dozen of them there that you think are special things, you'll say, well, I think that's all that we have to do. So then in Margin Master, we implement those first 2 rules, maybe 3 rules, addressing those concerns we have, and then we say, okay, let's look at the changes that would have to take place now to follow those rules. We only have 2 rules. We put those 2 rules into effect, the program applies them, here are the changes. You're going to look at it and say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about topsoil. You know, we're a lawn and garden center and we sell that stuff like crazy. I can't sell that at least retail. Well, you can. What do you want to sell at? Because we just made rule 3. Oh, well, that's right. I forgot about the Weber grills. Okay, we're going to make another rule. And we're going to keep applying. Every time we apply a rule, we're going to investigate what are the results of applying those rules. And it's going to stick out like a sore thumb when something doesn't make sense. Okay? The ultimate check then is, I've done all that, I've built a strategy, I've got it all ready to put in place, I've got 10,000 price changes that I've got to do in the store, and I'm starting to put them on the shelf. There's one final check that has to take place. The people putting those changes on the floor have to do a little bit of a gut check. We don't want to make a mistake. So we don't want to take something that's priced at $1.29 today and market at $9.99. Maybe something happened. There's potential that we missed something. Maybe we got a skew wrong. Who knows what? So whoever's putting those changes up say, hey, not question the fact that I'm raising this price $1. I'm not talking about that. But it's absolutely important that we put a reality check into play. And if there's a reason to question something, let's check it. What does Home Depot sell that for? Maybe I need to react to that. Maybe I don't. It's all about information. It's all about knowing what should I do, what can I do, and what's realistic. Another important part of the whole process.